She rises with the moon, not to conquer the darkness, but to illuminate what it tries to hide. In her glow, moonlight becomes a promise that even the softest heart can endure the longest night. Sailor Moon is a hero born not from certainty, but from devotion. She walks into battle carrying fear, love, and hope all at once, and somehow turns them into light. Where others harden, she remains gentle. Where the world demands silence, she dares to feel. Her power does not roar, it radiates, quietly, endlessly, like the moon itself. She is the reminder that heroism does not belong only to the fearless, but to those who choose compassion again and again. A guardian of love and justice, not because she is perfect, but because she believes, when believing is the hardest, that light is always worth protecting. Sailor Moon's civilian name is Usagi Tsukino. Usagi means rabbit in Japanese, while Tsukino can be translated to of the moon. Combined, Usagi Tsukino means rabbit of the moon. Her name comes from ancient folklore found across East Asia, where a rabbit is said to live on the moon endlessly pounding mochi beneath silver light. The moon rabbit is a symbol of gentleness, a sacrifice, and a quiet perseverance, a creature small and soft yet eternal in its labor. In naming her this way, the story bonds Sailor Moon to a myth older than herself. The idea that tenderness can be cosmic, that humility can endure forever. She is not the lion of the sun, but the rabbit of the moon, alive, not through force, but through consistency. Her surname Tsukino anchors her identity not to a place or lineage, but to a celestial body that governs tides, cycles, and emotional gravity. The moon does not shine on its own. It reflects. In this, Sailor Moon's philosophy is revealed. Her power is relational, reflective, born from connection rather than domination. She becomes luminous by holding the light of others, her friends, her love, her memories, and returning it to the world transformed. She was born on June 30th, making her a Cancer. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Cancer is the guardian of the home, the keeper of memory, the protector of emotional truth. It is a sign associated with deep feeling, loyalty, vulnerability, and fierce love. This astrological alignment is not symbolic coincidence. It is narrative intention. Sailor Moon fights not for glory, but for belonging. She protects not abstract ideals, but people. Like Cancer, she carries her heart openly, even when it leaves her exposed. Her strength is maternal, sheltering, and quietly unbreakable. Astrologically, the moon governs intuition, emotion, the unconscious, and the inner child. Sailor Moon embodies all of these realms. She does not operate purely through logic or strategy. She feels her way forward. Her instincts guide her more than reason ever could. She trusts the pull of her heart the way oceans trust the moon, inevitably and faithfully. Her frequent tears are not weaknesses, but lunar tides, rising and falling as part of a natural rhythm of feeling. Astronomically, the moon is a paradoxal body, consistent yet changing, ancient yet ever renewing. It wanes, disappears, but always returns. Sailor Moon follows the same cycle. She falls, doubts, sacrifices herself, and rises again. Her repeated deaths and rebirths mirror the moon phases, reinforcing the idea that disappearance is not annihilation, but transformation. The moon teaches us that light is never lost. It simply waits for the right moment to return. She reigned over the Moon Kingdom under the title of Princess Serenity. Princess Serenity is the memory of a soul before it learned to fear its own fragility. She is the soft silver beginning of Usagi Tsukino, the dream before the awakening, the melody before the words. Serenity is the moon's quiet ideal, an embodiment of innocence shaped not by naivety, but by purity and vision. Her world is one of stillness, gardens untouched by time, corridors where footsteps echo like fading prayers, a kingdom suspended between dream and eternity. And yet, Serenity's heart is restless. She is drawn to earth not out of rebellion, but out of longing. A soul yearning for what reflects its hidden nature. Earth, with its imperfection, passion, and vivid humanity, becomes a mirror that Serenity cannot turn away from. Serenity often gazed down at the blue planet, where she secretly fell in love with Prince Endymion. In him, she finds not a forbidden love, but a revelation, a reminder that even a being born in light can crave the warmth of a world where people bleed, laugh, and dream. Their forbidden relationship bridged two worlds, but it also drew the jealousy and resentment of Queen Beryl, who longed for Endymion herself. Manipulated by the dark power of Queen Metalia, Beryl led an invasion of the Moon Kingdom. Chaos swept through the Silver Millennium. Endymion died protecting Serenity, and in her grief, Serenity also lost her life. With the kingdom collapsing and darkness spreading, Queen Serenity used the last of her power and the sacred silver crystal to seal away Metalia and send Serenity, Endymion, and the Sailor Guardians to be reborn on Earth. It was her final wish that they would have a chance to live normal, happy lives, free from the tragedy that destroyed the first world. Her tragedy is born from beauty. Because Serenity's love is pure, it is vulnerable. Because her heart is open, it can break. And when it breaks, it shatters worlds. The fall of the Moon Kingdom is not merely an event. It is a cosmic heartbreak. Serenity's grief is not the grief of a human girl, but of a celestial being confronting suffering for the very first time. It is the moment innocence meets morality and understands that love carries both salvation and destruction within it. As an archetype, Serenity represents the eternal feminine in its most celestial form. Gentle, luminous, intuitive, and untouched by the cruelty of the world. She is what the philosophers would call the ideal form, beauty before it meets struggle, but beauty without struggle remains incomplete. This is why Serenity must fall. Through reincarnation, she becomes the complete circle of the moon. Innocence, heartbreak, rebirth, and ultimately sovereign mastery. Where Serenity once drifted like moonlight without weight, Usagi will learn to anchor that radiance with duty, compassion, and resolve. Serenity loved with purity. Usagi will learn to love with strength. Serenity lived in a kingdom sheltered by light. Usagi will learn to carry that light into darkness. Serenity died for love. Usagi will learn to live for it. Princess Serenity is the haunting echo of who Usagi once was, and the shimmering reminder of the purity that still lives inside her. She is the dream Usagi left behind, but never forgot. Every time Usagi saves a friend, forgives an enemy, or believes in love against all logic, it is Serenity speaking through her, a reminder that no matter how much the world hardens us, the core of the soul remains pure. In the end, Serenity is not the weaker version of Usagi, nor merely her past self. She is the celestial memory that gives Usagi her softness. Serenity is the moon at its quietest. Usagi is the moon at its brightest. Together, they form a complete philosophy of light, that innocence and experience, purity and strength, past and present, are not separate selves, but reflections of the same eternal soul. One that grows by loving, falls by loving, and ultimately saves the world through love. Usagi Tsukino begins her journey in the most human of places, the tender chaos of adolescence. Emotional, impulsive, sometimes lazy, and always unmistakably human. She reminds us that the seed of greatness is often planted in ordinary soil. Her feelings, raw and unfiltered, are not flaws, but the first truths of her philosophy. They reveal a heart that refuses to harden, a spirit that insists on experiencing life directly rather than through the distant armor of cynicism. Her clumsiness becomes poetry, her loudness a declaration of authenticity, her procrastination a subtle rebellion against a world too eager to demand perfection. Every surface trait the world might dismiss becomes, in her story, a thread in the tapestry of a soul learning how to shine. Yet within this ordinary girl lives a paradox. an ancient destiny woven into a modern teenage life. Usagi stands at the intersection of the finite and the infinite, pulled between the girl she is and the cosmic figure she must become. This tension is the essence of her drama, the everyday self brushing shoulders with the mythical self. She embodies the dilemma of all who seek meaning, how to reconcile the smallness of one's present with the magnitude of one's purpose. Her destiny does not erase her humanity, it amplifies it, proving that the sacred often hides within the messy, the mundane, and the unremarkable moments of a young girl's life. From this foundation emerge her defining qualities, a playfulness that protects her joy, a transparency that lets emotions flow through her without filter, and a sentimentality that reveals a heart exquisitely attuned to the world. At her core burns something even deeper, radical empathy. Usagi's most profound strength is her ability not to defeat enemies, but to understand them. She approaches even darkness with curiosity, asking, what would create the shadow? Her compassion is an act of moral defiance. In a universe that rewards power, she chooses understanding. In a world that fears vulnerability, she weaponizes love. Through her, we witness the philosophy that no heart is ever beyond redemption. Not because darkness is harmless, but because light is brave. Her relationships become the framework through which this philosophy matures. Early on, Usagi carries an anxious heart, one that fears abandonment because it loves with such intensity. She seeks validation, clings to affection, and trembles at the thought of losing it. Yet the people around her, Mamoru, Luna, and above all her friends, become the scaffolding that helps her build inner stability. Each guardian reflects a piece of her ideal self. Amy's clarity, Rei's fire, Makoto's strength, and Minako's charisma. They are not simply companions, they are mirrors, revealing her potential even when she cannot see it herself. Together, they form a constellation, and Usagi, the moon, binds them in harmony through the quiet gravity of her love. Luna stands as the stern voice of destiny, guiding her towards responsibility even when she resists it. Their dynamic becomes a philosophical dialogue between who Usagi is and who she is meant to be. The discovery of her identity as Sailor Moon is not merely a magical transformation. It is an existential awakening. The moment she steps into her role, she confronts the universal truth that to be chosen is not the same as choosing oneself. Her journey becomes one of continual reconciliation, navigating the tension between child and guardian, freedom and commitment, past self and future self. This internal struggle echoes the universal view of identity formation, where adolescence becomes the battleground between confusion and coherence. Usagi's growth is not linear but cyclical. Like the phases of her celestial namesake, she rises, she doubts, she breaks, she reforms, each phase revealing a more integrated self. Through these cycles, her attachment styles evolves. The anxious girl who once feared losing love becomes someone capable of offering it without fear. She learns that the heart is not protected by closing, it is strengthened by opening. Her resilience, too, is soft rather than hardened. It is the resilience of someone who falls often and rises anyway, not out of obligation, but out of devotion of everything she holds dear. Her morality grows in the same lunar rhythm, waxing through experience, waning through insecurity, always returning fuller than before. She chooses compassion not because it is easy, but because she believes it can shape destiny. What makes Usagi timeless is her relatability. She is intentionally ordinary, allowing viewers to project their insecurities onto her soft humanity. She represents the universal longing to be both flawed and extraordinary, to believe that greatness does not require perfection. In her vulnerability, we see our own. In her courage, we see who we might become. She shows that heroism does not demand the erasure of one's imperfections. Instead, it emerges from embracing them, learning from them, and allowing them to shape a heart powerful enough to save the world. Through Usagi, we learn a transformative philosophy, that love is not sentimental weakness, but a force capable of altering fate. That identity is not fixed, but chosen again and again in moments of fear and hope. That resilience is not the absence of breaking, but the sacred act of gathering one's pieces and rising as something even brighter. She stands as a reminder that the moon does not shine with its own light. It reflects, and so does she. Usagi reflects back to us the truth that we often forget, that even the gentlest heart can become a guiding light, and even the most ordinary soul can hold a destiny vast enough to illuminate the dark. Sailor Moon is the form that destiny shapes when it gathers all of Usagi's softness and Serenity's radiance and forges them into a single luminous blade. She is not merely a transformation, she is a threshold, where the ordinary dissolves and the eternal emerges. In this identity, she is the warrior forged from compassion, the soldier of love and justice whose strength is inseparable from her vulnerability. Every battle she fights is a testament to the idea that true power does not harden the heart, it illuminates it. Her identity formation is the journey from self-doubt to self-realization. She begins scattered, whimsical, and unsure, a silly girl who likes sweets, but gradually assembles a coherent self made of responsibility, compassion, and deep love. The Sailor Moon persona becomes the crucible in which all our past selves are redefined. Through her trials, she discovers that transformation is not about becoming someone different, but becoming more fully who she has always been. Sailor Moon is not simply a transformation. She is the distilled essence of destiny acting through a human heart. As the leader of the Sailor Senshi, her identity is rooted into the moon and the sacred silver crystal, symbols of intuition, purity, and hidden power. She stands as a bridge between the earthly and the cosmic, embodying a lineage of ancient lunar wisdom. Her awakening into Sailor Moon marks the moment when possibility widens into responsibility, the instant a girl learns that her emotions and imperfections must now coexist with the weight of cosmic duty. This discovery is not an escape from her humanity, but its maturation. She does not abandon who she was, but learns to rise from it. Her presence on the battlefield is almost liturgical. She does not arrive with the quiet menace of a warrior, but with the ceremonial grace of someone who understands the sacredness of life. The poses she strikes, the declarations she makes, the radiance she calls forth, these are all rituals that bind her identity to the ideals she fights for. Sailor Moon is not only a fighter, she is a moral force, announcing to the universe that even the cosmos must bow to compassion. And yet, she is no infallible goddess. She trembles, hesitates, cries, but never yields. Her courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear decide the fate of others. She fights with a heart that remains porous, absorbing the pain and sorrow of the world as if it were her own. This emotional permeability, often misread as fragility, is the exact source of her strength. A hardened hero can only slay. A soft hero can save. At the core of Sailor Moon's heroism reside three entwined philosophical qualities. Her radical empathy is a force that refuses to dehumanize even those who have fallen into darkness. She sees not monsters but wounded hearts, and in doing so, she disrupts the logic of violence. Her resilience arises through vulnerability, not despite it. She admits her fears, and in that honesty finds strength. And her leadership is relational rather than authoritative. She leads not through command, but through connection, weaving loyalty with tenderness and trust. These qualities make her feel alive, not as a polished archetype, but as a soul whose imperfections make her luminous. Her leadership psychology embodies the essence of transformational leadership. She does not impose power, she awakens it in others. Her authority originates from her willingness to sacrifice, her transparent vulnerability, and her fierce devotion to protecting those she loves. Rather than standing above her guardians, she stands with them, her strength amplifying theirs, and their strength shapes hers in return. This shared power becomes the foundation of their victories, proving that heroes are not isolated figures, but constellations of connection. The themes she embodies are philosophical declarations in themselves. She shows that love is not sentimental fluff, but a political and ethical power, capable of changing systems, healing wounds, and resisting destruction. She redefines feminine strength, elevating care, emotion, and collaboration into heroic virtues. Her story explores how identity and memory inform one another, turning the past not into a prison, but a reservoir of wisdom, and embracing failure as a teacher, showing that growth is born from falling and rising again and again. Sailor Moon is often described as a symbol of girlhood, magic, or nostalgia, but beneath her pastel colors and radiant transformations lies a profound feminist philosophy, a philosophy of soft power. She is a warrior born from softness, a leader shaped by emotion, and a heroine who rewrites what strength looks like for women and girls of all ages. Her feminism is not loud or militant. It is lived, embodied, and woven into her every choice. Through her, we witness a new type of power, compassion as resistance, vulnerability as courage, and community as revolution. Traditional hero stories reward stoicism, emotional detachment, and lone wolf bravery, traits historically coded as masculine. Sailor Moon defies this model entirely. She cries, she doubts, she hesitates, she loves loudly. And none of this makes her weak. Instead, the story insists that her softness is her strength. Her tears are revelations. Her care is a weapon. Her empathy is transformative. She is a feminist heroine because she never abandons the emotional intelligence often dismissed in patriarchal narratives. She shows that tenderness can move galaxies, that love can reshape destiny. In a world that mocks emotional girls, Sailor Moon answers by saving the universe because she feels so deeply. Where male heroes often stand alone, Sailor Moon stands surrounded by women, by friends, by sisterhood. Her power is not defined by her ability to dominate others, but by her ability to bring people together. The Sailor Guardians are not sidekicks. They are equals. Their strength is a collective strength. Feminine friendship is not a background decoration. It is the narrative engine. They argue, laugh, support, challenge, and heal one another. Sailor Moon's leadership emerges not through command, but through connection. Her feminism teaches that a woman does not need to walk alone to be powerful. Strength can be shared. Power can be communal. In this way, she embodies a deeply feminist model of leadership, rooted in cooperation rather than hierarchy. Sailor Moon represents a reclamation of traditional feminine aesthetics: bows, hearts, pastel colors, glittering transformations. And yet, these are never portrayed as frivolous or weak. They are not distractions from her power. They express it. Her femininity is her armor, not her limitation. In a culture that often tells girls they must shed softness to be taken seriously, Sailor Moon says the opposite. Your femininity can be a source of cosmic strength. She fights with beauty, with symbolism, with emotional clarity. She refuses the demand to masculinize her power. This reclamation is revolutionary, a declaration that girlhood and strength are not incompatible, but inseparable. Sailor Moon is simultaneously a warrior, a schoolgirl, a lover, a friend, a reincarnated princess, and a future queen. Her narrative embraces the complexity of modern womanhood. She is never forced to choose between roles. She does not have to reject her love to be powerful. She does not have to reject softness to be brave. And she does not need to lose her humanity to become strong. The message is clear. Women contain multitudes. Power does not require narrowing those identities. It requires embracing them. Her attacks are not merely techniques. They are expressions of her soul, each one revealing a philosophical truth about who she is. Where most heroines wield force, Sailor Moon wields emotional, moral, and spiritual energy, transforming the battlefield itself into a place of healing. Moon Tiara Action, or Moon Tiara Boomerang, is her first offensive attack. Sailor Moon revolves her glowing tiara, charges it with moonlight, and throws it like a spinning disc that slices through the enemies or purifies them before returning to her hand. It is a crown thrown like a weapon, a metaphor for the authority she never asked for, but becoming the power she learns to wield. The tiara is a symbol of royalty, but Sailor Moon's is circular, returning to her like a boomerang. It represents her first moment of claiming agency. It is the crown in motion, the symbol of destiny awakened. In Sailor Moon Healing Escalation, Sailor Moon uses the moonstick. She rises it high and releases a stream of shimmering light that purifies corrupted people or creatures, restoring them to their true selves. This is her philosophy in motion, the belief that wounds do not require destruction, but purification. Holding the moonstick, she does not kill, she heals. She restores corrupted beings to their true selves. It represents the idea that darkness is not someone's identity. It is a condition that compassion can undo. This attack is the manifesto of Sailor Moon's ethics. In Moon Princess Halation, she uses the moon rod and unleashes a swirling burst of radiant energy that spreads outwards in a wave, cleansing and eliminating dark forces around her. This is her first great cleansing wave. It symbolizes the awakening of her royal lineage, Serenity's light flowing through her. Halation is radiance that expands outwards, a declaration that her power is no longer personal, but ancestral, inherited, cosmic. Moon's Spiral Heart Attack is an attack where she forms a heart-shaped burst of pink energy with the Spiral Heart Moon Rod, then sends it forward in a twisting spiral that strikes the target with powerful focused force. The heart spiraling outward shows her love expanding, evolving, and reaching further. It is not a simple heart. It is a dynamic moving force symbolizing growth. This attack represents love that has survived trials and no longer naive. It is love with direction, purpose, and courage. In Rainbow Moon Heartache, she holds the Spiral Heart Moon Rod and produces a multicolored ribbons of light that converge into a glowing heart, releasing a powerful blast that overwhelms the opponent. This attack is heartbreak transmuted into power. The rainbow symbolizes unity of the Guardians, all their colors and strengths woven into Sailor Moon's heart. The ache is pain accepted, not avoided. It represents suffering transformed into compassion, wounds transmuted into healing for others. With the Kaleido Moon scope, Sailor Moon launches Moon Gorgeous Meditation. She channels sparkling kaleidoscopic light through the lens, firing a beautiful beam of rainbow energy that envelops and purifies the target. This is a prayer-like meditative attack. It symbolizes inner stillness, the ability to fight through serenity rather than fury. It is the moment when she learns that beauty is not superficial. True beauty is moral beauty, the kind that shines through selflessness. The kaleidoscope reflects many facets, representing the complexity of her identity integrated into harmony. Starlight Honeymoon Therapy Kiss is an attack used by Eternal Sailor Moon. She sends out shimmering golden ribbons of light shaped like butterflies or petals, which surround the enemy and cleanses them with their healing burst. This is the height of her healing symbolism. A therapy kiss is an act of mercy, intimacy, and rescue. The kiss is spiritual, not romantic, representing the healing force of unconditional love. This attack symbolizes her evolution into a protector who seeks not to overpower foes, but to free them from suffering. Silver Moon Crystal Power Kiss is an attack where she summons intensified moonlight through the Eternal Tiare, creating a brilliant white gold beam that engulfs enemies in a final, overwhelming wave of purifying energy, the ultimate healing expression. This attack is not the girl's love or the princess's heritage. It is the full cosmic force of the silver crystal channeled through the matured heart of a woman. It symbolizes transcendence, the merging of all her identities into one force of salvation. When she uses the silver crystal directly, a blinding sphere or column of pure white moonlight erupts from the crystal, either healing allies or destroying massive enemies. Anytime she uses the silver crystal, it represents self-sacrifice, purity of intention, and life force as a weapon. It is the symbolism of the sun expressed through the moon. Light offered willingly, even at the cost of one's life. Sailor Moon's transformations are not acts of spectacle, but moments of becoming. Each one reflects her internal growth, her expanding destiny, and her deepening understanding of love, responsibility, and selfhood. Every time she transforms, the universe pauses as if to witness a soul aligning itself with destiny. Her very first transformation, Moon Prism Power, Make Up, is the awakening of responsibility, the moment childhood meets destiny, innocence meets duty. This is not the transformation of a warrior. It is the transformation of a girl realizing she must become brave. Wrapped in ribbons of light, she is not being armored for battle, but the universe gently preparing her for destiny itself. These ribbons are not chains. They are threads of fate, weaving her identity into alignment. Because the first step towards heroism is not confidence, it is willingness. As her power deepens, her transformations grow more refined, reflecting an inner clarity slowly taking shape. With the moon crystal, she grows not by becoming someone new, but by becoming transparent in her own truth. Her power becomes clearer, more focused, more aligned with her heart. The crystal invoked here is a symbol of inner clarity, the removal of insecurity, confusion, and self-doubt. The moon cosmic power transformation unfolds like a vow made to the universe itself, where Sailor Moon steps beyond personal destiny into cosmic responsibility. She is no longer fighting to protect what she loves. She is becoming the space in which love can survive. The pink hearts drifting through the transformation are not decorative, they are declarations. Each heart represents an emotional bond she refuses to abandon, proof that even at her most powerful, her strength remains rooted in feeling rather than force. In Moon Cosmic Power, Sailor Moon does not shed her softness to reach the stars. She carries it with her, turning emotion into gravity and devotion into the very law that holds the universe together. When she transforms to Super Sailor Moon, her power is no longer drawn from innocence, but from anguish survived. The word crisis in her transformation, Moon Crisis Make Up, is essential. It implies pain, the moment she becomes a hero reborn not from triumph, but from loss, proof that suffering does not diminish the soul, but deepens it. This transformation reveals a hero shaped by grief who refuses to surrender her gentleness. The light she carries here is heavier, more solemn, yet infinitely stronger. It is the radiance of someone who has learned that hope is most meaningful when chosen in darkness. Super Sailor Moon symbolizes grace under pressure, a being who shines brighter because she has known grief. Her wings appearing in later versions represent transcendence through suffering. Crisis becomes her chrysalis, and from it emerges a strength that no longer trembles. Eternal Sailor Moon is the culmination of this long interior journey, the flowing of her full potential. In this form, there is no conflict between the girl, the warrior, and the princess. They exist in harmony. Her wings symbolize not escape, but ascension, the integration of every self she has been. Innocence and experience, emotion and obligation, vulnerability and cosmic authority, all coexist without contradiction. The star motifs reflect her connection not just to the moon, but to the entire universe. A heroine whose love now extends beyond planets, beyond time. Her power here is not louder, but pure. She no longer transforms to survive. She transforms because she has become whole. Across all her transformations, one truth remains unchanged. Sailor Moon does not gain power by abandoning her heart, but by expanding it. Each transformation is a shedding of fear, a reconciliation of self, a deeper willingness to love without guarantees. Her magic is emotional alchemy, turning pain into purpose, vulnerability into courage, and devotion into light. In watching her transform, we are not witnessing costume changes, but the unfolding of a philosophy that the soul evolves not by hardening, but by daring to remain soft in an ever-widening universe. Neo Queen Serenity is the final evolution of Usagi's spirit, the place where innocence and experience meet, merge, and soften into wisdom. She is not merely Usagi grown older, she is Usagi fulfilled, a woman who has walked through chaos, heartbreak, death, rebirth, and still chooses tenderness as her crown. Where Princess Serenity represents purity before suffering, and Sailor Moon embodies courage forged through suffering, Neo Queen Serenity is the peace that comes after suffering, a power that is gentle because it no longer needs to prove itself. Her kingdom, Crystal Tokyo, is the world reborn, an earth healed from centuries of conflict. It is a civilization not built on domination, but on harmony, reflecting the philosophy at the core of who she has always been, that the future is saved not by force, but by compassion organized into governance. Under her rule, longevity increases, wars fade, and humanity enters a more enlightened age. Her leadership is not the authoritarian rule of a distant monarch. It is the quiet, luminous influence of a heart that has learned the weight of every life. She rules the world the same way she once protected her friends, with love as law. Yet her serenity is not without shadow. Neo Queen Serenity carries the bittersweet burden of foreknowledge. She knows the mistakes she has once made, the people she lost, and the battles that shaped her. Her calm is not naive, it is earned. She is the version of Usagi who has already broken, already healed, and already forgiven herself and the world. This gives her a stillness that younger Usagi does not yet possess. She stands not on untested hope, but on the memory of battles won through compassion. Her relationship with Chibiusa deepens this philosophical arc. As a mother, Serenity's love stretches across time, literally bridging centuries to guide, nurture, and protect her daughter. Through Chibiusa, we see that Neo Queen Serenity has not lost her playfulness or warmth. She has simply learned to contain it with the grace of responsibility. She is maternal, not only to her child, but to her kingdom. She becomes the moon that watches over all lives with unending patience. But she is not unapproachable. The future reveals a queen who still hurts, still hopes, still worries. The silver crystal amplifies her love, but it does not remove her humanity. Her power demands sacrifice. Her role often isolates her from those she longs to be close to. And yet, she accepts her loneliness with dignity, understanding that leadership is not a privilege. It is a calling that shapes the self into something larger than the personal. As an archetype, Neo Queen Serenity represents the enlightened feminine, the sovereign who rules through grace rather than fear. She embodies the possibility of a world governed by empathy, where wisdom and kindness coexist without contradiction. Through her, the world suggests that peace is not a fragile dream. It is a destiny crafted by those brave enough to believe in it. If Princess Serenity is the moon at dawn, and Sailor Moon is the moon in battle, then Neo Queen Serenity is the moon at full zenith, luminous, calm, unwavering. She is Usagi's final truth, that love, when carried long enough and fiercely enough, becomes not just emotion, but philosophy. An entire kingdom shaped from the heart of one girl who once cried too easily and loved too much. In Neo Queen Serenity, we witness the accumulation of a life lived through compassion, the child who learned courage, the girl who learned sacrifice, and the woman who learned wisdom, each phase reflecting the same eternal light. Sailor Cosmos is the ultimate future form of Sailor Moon, a being of immense cosmic power who fled a destroyed future to prevent the universe's destruction by Sailor Chaos. She travels back in time and disguises herself as Chibi Chibi to guide her past self Sailor Moon towards saving the Galaxy Cauldron and finding hope against despair. She embodies the ultimate potential of a Sailor Guardian, yet represents fear and a desire to escape, and ultimately finding courage through Sailor Moon's choices. Sailor Cosmos is the embodiment of the universe's grief and mercy intertwined. She is starlight at the edge of creation where beginnings and endings blur. Her form reflects transcendence, yet her eyes carry sorrow, the cost of remembering everything. She is the moon that has learned to become a star, illuminating not just one world, but all of existence. Sailor Cosmos carries the unbearable weight of knowledge, knowing what will be lost, knowing what must be endured, and knowing that even love does not guarantee salvation. She is isolated not by lack of compassion, but by excess of it. To love the universe is to stand apart from it. Yet even in her solitude, she does not surrender to despair. Her loneliness becomes a vow, a silent promise that no matter how vast the darkness grows, someone will remain at the edge of time, holding the light. In her eyes lies a loneliness no universe can fill. Sailor Cosmos remembers every version of herself and every friend who loved her once then faded into memory. She carries their voices like constellations, distant, beautiful, and unreachable. Immortal not by blessing but by responsibility, she walks alone through endless starlight, bound to protect a future that may never know her name. To love the cosmos is to stand apart from it, and she bears that distance with quiet grace. Yet even at the end of time, she does not abandon hope. Sailor Cosmos believes not because it is easy, but because she has seen what happens when belief dies. She reaches backwards through eras not to rewrite happiness, but to preserve its possibility. In doing so, she becomes the universe's last prayer, soft, aching, and unyielding. She is the echo of a girl who believed love could save the world, now stretched into a guardian who believes it must save all worlds, even if she must do it alone. Through her, the story whispers its final truth, that love does not fade, it expands, until it becomes the very shape of destiny itself. Sailor Cosmos remains at the edge of time, loving a universe that will never know her loneliness, yet surviving because of it. She watches the stars fall one by one, carrying their light within her, knowing that even if the universe forgets her name, her love will remain woven in its final breath. Sailor Cosmos is proof that even when all light feels distant, hope, once chosen, never truly dies. In the end, Sailor Moon is not remembered for how brightly she fought, but for how deeply she loved. Her light was never the kind that burned through darkness. It was the kind that stayed, patient and unwavering, until the night itself learned to soften. She stumbled, she cried, she broke, and she still rose again and again, choosing compassion in a universe that begged for cruelty. In doing so, she taught us that heroism is not the absence of fear, but the devotion to love even when fear is loud. She is the moon that wanes and returns, the quiet promise that loss is not final, and tenderness is not foolish. In her journey from girl to guardian, from princess to queen, we see ourselves reflected, fragile, hopeful, unfinished. Sailor Moon does not ask us to be flawless. She asks us to be faithful to our hearts, to one another, and to the belief that light, no matter how gentle, can change the shape of the world. And long after the battles fade into memory, her lesson remains, glowing softly in the dark. That to love fiercely is the bravest magic of all. She leaves behind not a legacy of power, but a legacy of mercy, proving that even the smallest light can guide countless souls home. She reminds us that even in our smallest, most trembling moments, we are capable of becoming something luminous. And so, her light lingers, not as a victory cry, but as a whisper carried through endless nights, through moonlight and memory, reminding the universe that even the softest heart can become eternal. And so we carry her light forward, choosing kindness, choosing courage, and choosing love, all in the name of the moon.